gives me a lot of pleasure to introduce our first speaker who will absolutely articulate that very well. He is one of the key leaders in logistics in the region here and is leading logistics across Volkswagen de Mexico and production control. And I would also note before I bring him on that you will have the pleasure of hearing from quite a number of his team over the next 2 days as well. So we've really partnered with Volkswagen to share more insight on all the changes happening across. So that's been a real pleasure, as well as partnering with other OEMs and Tier 1s and logistics providers here today. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Peter Koltai from Volkswagen de Mexico. Oops, sorry. Move to those slides. Sorry, I'm going to come back to these later. Peter Koltai. Can we go back, please? Peter Koltai. We're going to get there eventually, guys. That's the one. Peter Koltai, Volkswagen de Mexico. And now you've had a preview of learning more to come as well. Peter, the stage is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. That
Cheers.
was a bumpy start. I hope that the continuing will be better. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. What a great pleasure and honor to be the part of the opening session of this conference. And today I would like to share with you some of our experiences and some of our practices, how we live this era when we are remodeling the Mexico's supply chain in the automotive trade. What a great country, Mexico. Everybody who lives here or visiting this country many times sees it on its own. Not only the people, but also the whole atmosphere for the industry helps us, mainly in the automotive industry, in the last decades to grow more and more. And it ended up to there that Mexico became the 4th largest vehicle exporter globally. In 2024, nearly 3.9 million light vehicles, which were exported from Mexico outside. We are living also in a nearshoring momentum. We see that many nearshoring activities are happening from Europe, from Asia, and it becomes to be a hub for all the automotive industry, not only for the production sites, but also as a market, it's getting more and more interesting. What are the reasons for this? Basically, the proximity to the US, the labor costs are in a competitive level, even though that we see in the last time an incredible increase there. And in the past, it was a huge advantage, the trade agreements, the USMCA, which had basically the major effect for the trade relations between the three North American countries. In 2020, something has changed. We have started with the first global crisis, which was the pandemic. Then we have had some semiconductor crises, supply chain crises, wars, and so on. So we can say that since 2020, our age of the industry has been changed. And that's why I would like to see as a breaking point and have a look at that, what has been changing, what was different between 2020 and after 2020. Basically, before all this global crisis started, the whole logistics strategy was built around efficiency, cost optimization, and the globalization was a huge advantage what we were all using. How did we see it? We were pushing very strongly in JIT manufacturing. We have the tiered supplier networks. We were sourcing many times from low-cost countries. We did not have many redundancies because that was all compacted or contacted to additional costs. We have had customs and trade compliance, complete customs and trade compliance to cope with, and we were heavily relied on punctual ocean freights. And it was highly efficient, but we have seen it also as soon as the crisis has started, that it became very fragile. We have prioritized the cost saving and the lean operations at the expense of resilience and flexibility. But it has changed. Everybody in the industry had to go on a different way. And I can say that at Volkswagen and the Volkswagen Group, we have seen 4 main changes. First of all, from efficiency, we had to move to resilience. We have had to go on an old-fashioned way, and we had to increase safety stocks, which we all pushed down in the past. One of the most important parts became that we have a supplier visibility, that we really have a good feeling if our suppliers are able to deliver to us that what we demand from them. And if that's not the case, then we have an exit strategy, dual sourcing. And how is Volkswagen de Mexico is reacting on it? But before I go into this point, I would like to introduce you shortly who is Volkswagen.
This is a car, full of the latest innovation, ready to go out in the world, but it's not a Volkswagen yet. Now this car is about to become a Volkswagen. Because it's not a Volkswagen until there's sand under the mats. Until you spill ice cream on the brand new seats. It's not a Volkswagen until it has a name, like Matilda, Lily, or Bug. It's not a Volkswagen until you break up in it. And make up. It's not a Volkswagen until it takes you to the worst, best day in your life. Till you realise that children grow up so fast. Until you realise your parents grow old so fast. It's not a Volkswagen until it's accessible to all. And until the technology inside makes you smile. It's not a Volkswagen until it helps build a world your grandchildren drive in. So you see, we make cars, but no matter how advanced the technology inside, it's not a Volkswagen until there are people in it.
Volkswagen.
Well, a brand driven by tradition and with a lot of emotions. And the emotions and the spirit of Volkswagen is also made by people. And that what we will see with all the examples, what I show, that these are the basic for the achievements, what we have. We have a huge history here in Mexico. We are present since 1964, and we have 2 plants. To produce production plants in Mexico. The biggest plant is in Puebla, producing cars, and we have an engine plant in Silao. In Puebla, we are producing 3 different car lines, Jetta, Tiguan, and Taos. In 2024, more than 380,000 cars have been produced, and we have achieved 40 million produced cars in Mexico already last year. If we look at the footprint of Volkswagen in the North American region, we can see that there is a very interesting share of different parts of the business between Mexico and US, Canada. As a manufacturing OEM, we are big with our numbers and also with our market share in Mexico. In the US and in the Canada, we are much smaller. If we look at our supply chain, which we use for the production of the Volkswagen brand cars in the North American region, we can see that most of our suppliers are coming from Mexico, and we have a much lower level of supply part in the US or from Canada. And if we look at the sales, then the page turns. We have, of course, the much higher number of sold cars in the US and in the Canada than we have it in Mexico. Now I would like to show you a little bit, according to a few examples, how we are remodeling our supply chain. First of all, as I have shown you before, we are moving from efficiency to resilience. It means that from the global supply chain, we are moving much stronger to a national, a regional supply chain. And this is a part also from the Mexico's rise of nearshoring and localization effect, what we see in the total industry. The safety stock increases. We have had several really critical situations in the past. One example, we have had vessel delays from the South American region last year up to 4 weeks. None of the OEMs is able to live with delays like this, so you have to react on that. We had to redesign many of our supply chains, and we had to cover all the risks with a much higher safety stock. But it's not only in the direction of South America. We have seen also examples that from Europe, vessels were overtaking each other. So instead of arriving one after the other, as they were sent out from the European port, we have received them in different time slots and also in different ports, where we were not counting on them, that they will arrive there. The supplier visibility is one of our major points where we are putting a lot of emphasis in it. We have a daily risk modeling, where one of my colleagues later on will also show much more in details how we do this daily risk modeling. Basically, we are taking all data from our suppliers on a day-by-day basis to understand if there are any risks to have in their supply in the next days. For example, if one of our trucks have to wait longer than it is normal, then immediately we have already an alarm. If one of our suppliers, we see that it's in backlog and sending on their own cost the material to us, we see that there must be something behind it. We must have a problem at that site. Every day in the morning round of the logistics, with quality assurance and with the purchasing department, together we are looking at that situation and we are deciding day by day at which supplier we need to have a closer look if there is everything going well. Using all this past data from the past, we are also trying to use artificial intelligence to look at the past data and to see some masters. If any event happens, what will be the impact on the factory, and to be able to have a prediction in advance. And one of the most important part also about the supplier visibility is suppliers' collaboration and trust building. And this is not only about the suppliers that they are delivering us the part, but also logistical services. We have some very long-lasting partnerships, which we would like to keep also. Several times I have mentioned already how stable our operations are in the ports, mainly in Veracruz, where we have received the biggest volume from the overseas parts. And also, if I'm looking at trucking companies or if I'm looking at in-house logistics service companies, extremely important for us that with these long-lasting partners, we have also for the future a very open communication and trust-building base for reacting quickly enough if there is any deviation from the normal process. And dual sourcing became one of the most important parts. If you see that some of our suppliers are struggling, we need to open a dual sourcing resource. For example, some examples we have in Mexico where we have examples for that if one of our suppliers is struggling, and we see and we understand also there are always some reasons for that very quickly we react on it, and we are trying to get other supply flows from European suppliers for it, even though that we know that it costs something, but we are supporting resilience. And our message is logistics toward the future. We trust on the location of Mexico, we build on it also, and we are a producer, as I said, with a long tradition already in Mexico, and very happy looking for the future for further projects here to produce. Thank you very much for your attention.